Is the Nets signing Blake Griffin a good deal, Dino? Talk to me.
God, as a diehard Celtic fan, it really pains me. Like we took all the Nets draft picks in that 2013 Paul Pierce deal and Garnett and that deal. We took all the picks. We were going to build our future through the draft, which we have. We got Brown, Tatum out of the deal. We had Irving for 2 years. We all know how that ended from the Colin Sexton trade with the Nets pick. But anyways, we have a good squad. But the thing is, like, no one on our team is bigger than 6'9". And the Nets have built this juggernaut team. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, now Blake Griffin. And you know how many players they drafted on that? Zero. So it makes me really mad because it's just like, wow, they're just able to go do that. Kenny Atkinson, they had all these draft picks. Like Jared Allen was like the 26th pick or something like that, or like
Yeah.
19. And like all these guys, and the Karis LeVert now he's in the Harden trade, but they built this thing and just they didn't even need high draft picks, and they were able to lure Durant, Irving in free agency. It's just crazy what they've done. Like I give them credit because that is hard, and they pulled it off. They took New York from the Knicks, sorry to say, and they got the superstars. And now adding Blake Griffin to that team.
I
Blake
would
didn't
say,
want to play in Detroit. He didn't want to go play there. He signed that extension with the Clippers years back. Then they traded him the next offseason. He didn't want to play in no damn Detroit. He knew they weren't going to go anywhere. Granted, Jeremy Grant's having a hell of a year,
he
but
is.
the Pistons weren't going to go nowhere, and he knew that. So now that Blake's gone and now he's on the Nets, he's going to go off. I really think he's going to play well because now he's with Irving, Harden, Durant, himself, and DeAndre Jordan. That is a crazy starting five. They're going to be good. I think it's a great signing for the Nets, especially on the buyout market, to get a Blake Griffin player. Granted, Blake's not his old self. He's still a great player. He's still a quality player to have on your team. And I think it's going to work out well for the Nets, and the Nets just got so much stronger. I don't see who's going to beat them in the East. I really don't. We said before the season started, we said Nets, Lakers. And granted, the Lakers are always one Anthony Davis injury away from not making it to the finals, which right now Anthony Davis is hurt. But we'll see what happens. But I don't see any team in the East beating the Nets, not this year whatsoever. I don't care about all the Philly noise, none of that. The Nets are taking the East unless Durant and Harden get hurt. But besides that, it's the Nets conference, and maybe even the Nets title will lose at this point. What do you think, Leel?
Yeah. The only thing I like about this move is that there's no risk involved.
Yeah,
When you look at deals that's being made, you always have to ask yourself, what is the risk? And if there's no risk, then by all means, knock yourself out, bro. And that's exactly what the Nets is doing. You getting a guy in Blake Griffin for basically nothing. And if it doesn't work out, well, hasta luego, my brother. See you in Tobago. That's just what it is. And that's why I like it. But when you think about, Blake Griffin, and is he still that same guy? I don't believe he has to be that same guy. That's the point.
yeah.
He's clearly fallen off from where he was in Lob City. And you could tell that. You could tell, a lot of people, may come up and say, well, Lil, like you said, that he didn't want to be on Detroit. And that may be true. But at the same time, based on the eye test and what I see, unless he's doing a good hell of a job selling it, it looks like he doesn't have that much left in the tank. Otherwise, he needs to be actor of the daggone year and possibly get a daggone nominee or a daggone trophy for that acting. But he doesn't look like the same guy to me. But he still evolved this game to where he can still be useful. He hasn't dunked in 2 years. He's average, I believe, on this year, he's averaging 12.3 points per game, 5.2 assists, and that, rebounds rather. And he's
Yeah.
not, these are not good, eye-popping numbers, but he has evolved his game into shooting threes now. So he can shoot a couple threes, and he can still be useful. And look, you're going into a situation where you are not asked to be that number 2 or 3 guy or number 1 guy.
He's number
Obviously,
4
Jeremy,
guy.
yeah, number 4 guy now. Yeah, now you're
Crazy.
probably coming off the bench and you're probably going to be rolling with bench guys. So you still may be able to, show some shades of the past, just a little bit, and
Yeah.
one thing I would say about the Nets is that the Nets went from a player developmental university to a last chance to win a championship university. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is they went from Levert, developing guys like Levert, Jared Allen, and Spencer Dinwiddie,
Yep.
guys that were overlooked in the draft. They went to develop these players, and now within a matter of 2 years, they had his last chance to win a championship. Kevin Durant, he won a championship at Golden State, but we all know that he took a sucker move to go there and win his ring. So, all right, Durant, prove
Yep.
it. Prove that you can win on your own. Why do it on the Nets now? Okay. Kyrie Irving, you won a championship with LeBron James, but you wanted to be the leader and you failed in Boston. So show me you can win on your own. All right, Brooklyn. DeAndre Jordan, Lob City, had opportunities to try to compete for a championship. You failed. All right, do it
They
in
very
Brooklyn.
underachieved.
Blake
Yeah.
Griffin, same thing. Do it in Brooklyn. James Harden, all these stats throughout the whole year. MVPs. What about the ring, brother? Okay,
Should
let
have
me
beat
go
the
to
Warriors
Brooklyn.
in Game 7 in that series a couple years ago. We're not going to talk about that.
Last Chance University is what
Yeah.
Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets are right now, with a matter of 2 years. And look, and that's just what it's going to be. Who knows? Andre Drummond may be dropped to the buyout market, and he might be next. So look, it is what it is. But I'll tell you one more thing, Dino. As much as the Nets could, you know, make headlines and be in every news topic, which they are, because they have the talent on that roster, and talent always attracts media. At the same time, the Knicks is in the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference, and it's as much noisy in the Garden right now than it is in Brooklyn, and they got all the talent. That should tell you something. All right, the New York Knicks is still relevant, even though they may not have the talent and may not have the superstars. And I won't say may not have the talent. There's talent there, but they may not have the superstars. They still as noisy as Brooklyn. And
I guess two things. Yeah.
God think they make it to the playoffs. They're gonna be as noisy or even more.
Right. I give you two more things to close out this segment. So one regarding the Nets versus the Knicks in New York. So I do agree with you that the Knicks fans, they're rowdy because they're in the playoff spot. Granted, like nothing's gonna happen. This is the Nets year. Nothing's gonna happen. I don't care who it is besides the Nets. Like this is the Nets year. But now the Knicks are in the playoffs. They have a spot. And yes, like the fans are coming out more, but that's also because the Knicks have been in New York since forever. The Nets just got there 7-8 years ago. So now that the Nets have all these superstars, they're going to start building their brand up. And then they're going to start really competing with the Knicks in terms of oh, there's another team in New York. Oh, the Nets have all these superstars. They got the brand. They got the players. You're going to start seeing more and more Nets jerseys coming out in New York over time. But yeah, right now, I would still give it to the Knicks. But in terms of fans, I'll give it to the Knicks. But I say the Nets they're slowly going to get up there as time goes on, especially with the brand and the superstar players that they have, because you're going to start seeing them Durant jerseys and the Irving jerseys and the Harden jerseys. You're going to start seeing all them black and white Brooklyn Nets jerseys in New York on the subway and all that.
I disagree with you, Dino. I see
Really?
where you're coming from. I see exactly where you're coming from. So it's not a bad take. I'm not here to say that. But I disagree because I'm looking at it from another perspective. And the way how I'm looking at it is that, look, I've been to Nets games before. I'm not going to lie. You see that big fat Knicks poster behind me, or should I say on my wall? Clearly a Knicks fan, die hard. But I've been to the Barclays before, and I wore, Nets gear. I wanted to represent for the Nets. So I think that all the Nets fans and fan bases that may evolve during this time with Harden and Kyrie Irving there and Durant, it's just going to be rented fans. They're going to be there for the next couple of years, possibly secretly Knicks fans, but trying to be part of a trend. Everybody wants to be a part of the trend, part of the winning team.
So you see it,
and they're going to be there.
And the Dwayne Wade
Exactly.
kind of thing.
It's going to be a rented type of fan base that they're going to have. And who knows? With Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you cannot trust their loyalty. They might be a 2-3 year deal and get out of there. And they're going to be right back to player developmental university again. Who knows?
They very well could. I understand that take, and I don't disagree with it because it could very well could be true. But I just feel if the Nets produce, which it looks like they're going to, maybe not one, they could very well produce two. Since it's looking that way, and it's like, oh wow, the Knicks haven't won since 1971, 73, and the Nets winning now. So it's like that could start to build up more like the youth fans, and that's what grows the fan base in a local
the younger
area.
generation, the generation that don't read a book, that don't know history, those dumb behind kids. And I'm just calling it like it is.
They're going to put the Durant and Harden jerseys on because they're the superstars.
Yeah. Remember what Durant said? The Knicks aren't cool anymore.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Durant said, yeah.
He said that. But the other thing I wanted to say before we move on is so Kevin Durant, he went to the Nets with Kyrie Irving. You have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Dinwiddie when he's healthy. Who else they got off the bench? They got Joe Harris off the bench, Landry Shamet. They got a great squad. But let's look at the starting five in particular. Irving, Harden, Durant, Griffin, Jordan. If Kevin Durant wins with the Nets, do you recognize him as a real champion now outside of Golden State?
No, honestly, I can't. And look, I like Durant. I think Durant is probably the best player in the NBA. There's up for debate. A lot of people say LeBron is still. You probably got some Giannis's out there, some Giannis heads. But I think Durant, talent-wise, he's the best scorer in the NBA for sure, without a doubt.
Easy.
But listen, Kevin Durant is an example of you have everything laid out in your future. Everything is just whoop right there for you. No adversity, nothing like that. Everything is whoop right there. I'm already drafted to a good organization in Oklahoma City with another talent in Russ. Okay, we made the playoffs, we made some noise, we didn't win here. Go to the Warriors, win a couple championships with the greatest shooter in the world and Klay Thompson, and then now I'm going to go on the Nets, and I got all these guys around me. It's going to be hard for Kevin Durant to make a case to be a top 5 player of all time because of that resume. Guys are going to be like, well, who do you play with? When you got a debate with guys, among other guys, people start looking in different areas. When they know they can't get you with the stats, they're going to go to another stat. They're going to find a stat. And one of the stats they're going to bring up is who did you play with when you won those championships? And they're going to see Harden. They're going to see Kyrie. They're going to see Steph Curry. And they're going to see Klay. And they're going to be like, who are these guys? One of the best to ever do it. All of them.
Yeah, so, after the Warriors went 73-9, you go and play with them. It's like, come on now. No one's going to forget that.
Yeah.
And then Harden coming to town. Now Griffin's coming to town. It's like, good gosh, man. I can't.
Now blame the media.
If he wins this year, it's like Kevin Durant is so great. He's probably the second most unguardable scorer in NBA history behind Michael Jordan. And it's like, because he's 7 feet and shoot from anywhere on the court. He's a walking bucket. And it's just like, he's so good. But at the same time, like, how much, like, emphasis do those championships carry given the teams he's been on? I just don't see it. If it had just been with him and Kyrie, like, all right, like, I'll probably give it to you. But now, I don't know, man. I don't think I can give it to him.
Yeah. And you know what? That's just what it is because what I was going to say, the point that I had in my mind, it's starting to slip away. But I guess it's not meant to be in the book. But I think we pretty much knocked that horse